Jenna's got a lot of enthusiasm about this. I might give it a try. This is interesting because I came in my room. This is where I record it because of the sound quality and acoustics and whatnot. Anyways, I came in here with the intention to record a podcast on a more serious topic. I have some notes I've prepared, but I'm setting up my microphone, and in my head, I just have a nudge to record another episode instead. I'm actually going to record both today because I will be going away on holiday soon with Tom and the girls, our first term time holiday in like 12 years. So I'm very excited, but I do need to be organized. So I'm going to be recording 2 in a row today. And so this first one is more fun, and I'm completely going to ad lib the whole thing because I didn't realize I was going to record this until right now. And so this episode is going to be on the magic of decluttering. You might have heard of the book and the whole boom of minimalism and whatnot. And this book by Marie Kondo, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. This book came into my world a long time ago, and it was life-changing. And I didn't understand any of it back then. Not that it's a huge concept. Well, no, maybe it is. I don't know. But anyways, I'm going to give my take on decluttering and minimalism today from the perspective of the brain, and basically through the lens of the work that I do now, and back up why it's such a good thing to do. So rewind back to a time in my life where I was struggling to conceive, and I was just in a really, really dark place. A big black cloud was over my head. Very different person to the person I am now, the person you see and hear on the podcast. Yeah, just very different energy. I was sad, withdrawn. Life felt very heavy and hard, and just, very, very low vibe. And I had yet to, basically, I was living in my primitive brain. You know, if you've been listening to more than one podcast, you'll know that I use the term primitive brain a lot. And that is a very, very negative place to be. It's where you are operating from if your life feels hard or overwhelming or stressful or fear-based. You're living life from your primitive brain. And that was me. I was completely in survival mode, struggling to conceive. And I came across this book. I have no idea how I came across it, but The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. And I read it, and then I read the next book called Spark Joy. And yeah, they're an absolute game changer for me. I really minimalized. I think I got rid of 40 to 50% of my stuff and just felt lighter, like a weight had been lifted. And so I have a lot more stuff now, but at the moment I'm going through the process of gradually decluttering. If you're a parent and you're listening to this, you will know what I mean by a tidal wave. Kids come with a tidal wave of stuff that just feels so hard to keep at bay. And so I have, rather than just do one big declutter, which is, life is busy as a parent and a business owner, and obviously trying to enjoy life as well. I don't have the time to spend hours decluttering every day. And so what works for me now is to just do a little bit here, a little bit there. And I'm going to share with you, I'm going to say 5 reasons why decluttering is a game changer for you in your life. I don't know if there's going to be 5 because I have literally no notes at all, but I'm going to throw that out there and hopefully we'll get to 5 as I ad lib. So number 1, why is decluttering so good? Well, just the act of taking ownership of your stuff. Let's say you're working on one drawer, to empty the contents of a drawer and to only put back the things that are useful or the things that belong there or the things that you get joy from, the things that you value, basically. The idea of decluttering or the idea of minimalism is to only have things in your home that have a use. Sometime in the next 6 months or in the next year if they're seasonal, something that you would get use of over the next year, or something that brings you joy. Because if it's not useful and you don't value it, it doesn't bring you joy in your life now, then what's the point? It's cluttering up. And the thing is, from an energy perspective, and this is where it's really important, just the act of taking ownership of what belongs in a drawer and getting rid of the things that you don't need or have a use of makes you feel better. You're doing something purposeful. You're doing something that has a tangible result. You can see an improvement. And so what you're doing, like what's happening in your brain is you're producing feel good chemicals from this task, and it's lifting you up. Let's say if you're massively in your primitive brain, it will make a bit of improvement. It'll give you a little bit of a sense of control back. If you're only just in your primitive brain, then it might be enough to bring you back into your intellectual mind because you've created some feel good chemicals and it makes you feel better. Just a tip on that though is don't bite off more than you can chew. Because I used to do this all the time. I used to get stuck into decluttering and then get so waylaid by like reading an old diary or looking through some photos. And then I've just got all this shit out everywhere. And then I lose the will to live. And I'm just like, and I just end up with stuff everywhere. And it's just one step forward, two steps back. So my tip there is to not bite off more than you can chew. Just do one thing, and maybe if it helps, set yourself a timer to do it so that you have momentum, you keep going, and there is an end result. So reason number one for decluttering is it generates feel-good chemicals in your brain. Reason number two, everything is energy. And I know I've said this on the podcast before, but everything is energy. Like things that you can see, things that you can hold, even things that you can't see, like everything is made up of energy. And so the things that we have in our home that are just clutter, that don't bring us joy and that don't have a use to us, they are taking up energy in your life that could be in your life in better ways. So, for example, if you declutter, what you're doing is you are not only physically creating space, you are energetically creating space too. And you will often find that if you declutter your home, some form of abundance will drop into your life very soon after because you have created space for it energetically. You're letting go of the things that aren't serving you. And we're talking about tangible things here, but you can do intangible things as well, like decluttering your mind, for example, of beliefs that no longer serve you, or relationships, stuff from the past that you're holding on from. Whoa, I'm going off on a tangent, but this is partly why hypnotherapy is so amazing, because you can let go of the stuff from the past that's not serving you and holding energy in your energetic field that is stopping you from getting where you want to be in life because there's no space for what you want to drop in. But let's get back to tangible things, like actually decluttering physical things. Yeah, you are creating space, like literally you're creating space when you declutter, but you are energetically creating space too by getting rid of things. You're creating space for abundance in your life, let's say. Reason number three, why it is so good to declutter. It automatically makes you more in tune. Well, this is my experience anyway. I don't know other people's experience, but my experience is that when I did a big declutter many years ago, I felt so protective of my home in the sense that I didn't want to bring in anything else, really. I liked the space as it was. I liked the space that I'd created. And I know that we used to have a habit of just going to the shopping centre without a real need for something to buy. Now that, looking back, is just a conditioned thing to do. We are conditioned to be consumers in this world. And, you know, it seems so ridiculous now, but why would you go shopping to a shopping centre if there's nothing that you need to buy? And I really felt this, like we would decide to go to the shopping centre. And after doing this decluttering, I remember walking around thinking, I just don't want to buy anything. I don't want to bring anything into my home. And so, first of all, it stops you being a mindless consumer, which I think the world is waking up to definitely more and more and more. So much more since I did this declutter years ago. We're waking up more to the fact that we need to be more mindful about what we're consuming and how much we're consuming. So there's that. But there is also, so this is tip number 4, I think, is I feel like it made me more mindful of my choices because I suddenly realized that, I am in a shopping center. I don't really need to be here. And then I'm more mindful about other choices because I find this with my clients in my program, and I say this as well. When you make an improvement in one area of your life, and self awareness is key, like massively key, because you can be a certain way and have no idea that you are that way. But the moment you become aware of that, or the moment you become aware that there's a block or there's something to work through or there's growth to be done, as soon as you're aware of it, then you can move through it. But the self awareness is key, because without the self awareness, you don't even know that you have a problem. You don't even know that you're struggling. And so, how can you work through and get to a better place if you don't even know about it? So, what I say to my clients is once you've made progress in one area of your life, you can then very quickly feel like, oh, I feel like I'm behind in this area of my life. But the moment you realize, if you've already made progress somewhere else, it's just like shining a light onto that. And the progress can catch up very, very quickly because you've done the learning, you've made the growth in the other area of your life. I'm not sure if that makes sense. But what I'm trying to say here on the topic of minimalism or decluttering is that by decluttering my space, I felt more in tune with my choices because I realized I was in the shopping center with absolutely no desire to buy anything. And then I realized that, aha, okay, I want to be more intentional about the choices that I'm making. So it just made me more mindful as a person. Okay, so that was number four. Here we are, number five. And I feel that this one is deeply personal because, as I said, I came across this idea of massively decluttering my home at a time in my life when I was really struggling. And I remember Tom taking the mick out of me around the time that I was reading this book and making this massive like effort to declutter my home, because I would bring it up as in the topic of conversation with any friend that we would see or family member. I'd bring up this book and he would just take the piss out of me because it was just like I was on commission for the book or whatever. But it was an absolute game changer for me because of the way it felt. It felt so different to be in a home with less stuff. I felt the energy shift. I felt lighter in myself. And when, coming from a place that I was in, that made a massive difference to me to feel lighter. It's hard to describe, but it is the same feeling that I get now if I declutter an area of the home or whatever. I still feel that shift in energy. I feel lighter. Obviously, I've got the feel good chemicals for doing it. And then your creative space, all of these reasons put together make it an absolute no brainer to do. And there's that thing, one person's junk is another person's treasure. I'm not sure if I've got that word perfect, but I've given away things this week. There's a Facebook group in my local area where you can just post things that you've got. And if it's no good to you, it'll be good to somebody else. So people have come around and collected different things this week. And this lovely lady came and picked up a poster. We used to have a poster which was ideas for cooking for vegetarians. And then we moved from being vegetarians to vegans. And so I bought the same poster, but the vegan version. So I basically switched them out and like offered this poster out. And the lady, she was so grateful. And it just feels good, like to know that your stuff that is just sitting in a drawer, unloved and unused, goes somewhere where it will be used. Or if it goes to a charity shop, then it's raising money for a charity. Or it just feels good to move stuff out of your home and for it to be used by somebody else. Or I don't know. It just feels good. It's hard to describe. And I know if you're listening and you have already been converted to the idea of decluttering, then you'll know exactly what I mean. And if you're listening and you're like, Jenna's got a lot of enthusiasm about this, I might give it a try, then please do. And I hope that you feel the same benefits too. Come back and let me know. I'm going to wrap this up now. But I thought I'd do a different episode, a little bit of a fun vibe, and hopefully be useful to you, give you some motivation to choose an area in your home to declutter. Well, my advice for you is if you are a busy person, don't set your expectations too high to like declutter your whole home in a weekend. Unless you're really up for doing that, don't do it. Just go a little bit at a time. Maybe see if you've got a friend that you want to have an accountability partner with, so you can just message each other and tell each other what you have decluttered that day or whatever, like with no pressure at all. Then that's a really nice idea. I've got that with a few of my business owner friends. Yeah, so you can have a little accountability person and just have the energy behind it, make it fun, make it lighthearted. Don't see it as, oh, another thing to do. See it as something that's going to benefit you and a little bit here and there is great rather than our all or nothing mentality. So I hope this episode has served you well. I hope you found it useful. If you know somebody that would get value from listening to this episode, I would love it if you could share it with them. Or if you would like to review this episode, please do. That would be great. Thank you so much for listening. As always, I will see you again next week. Bye. My mission with this podcast and why I started it was to serve. And so I really hope that everything I've shared with you today and in previous episodes is serving you and helping you to change your life. It requires consistent action. It requires effort. But if you're willing to put in the work, then you can absolutely change a great deal just by listening to me and implementing my advice. However, if you're listening and you would like to work with me, then obviously I work too. I do solution-focused hypnotherapy and much more, and my program is called Change Your Life, and it's a program that I'm really proud of. So if you're interested in this and would like some more information about how it works and whether it would be right for you, then do get in touch with me via the information in the show notes. Thanks again for listening, and if you enjoyed this episode, I would love for you to share it with a friend or stick it up on stories on Instagram and tag me at Believe and Achieve with Jenna. See you next week.